There is a visit of special energy that pours out to our planet through the star Aldebaran. It is known that this energy conducts many harmonious changes on the planet through the sign of Taurus. So I'm going to be talking this morning about the energies of Wesak. Sometimes people will say to me after they hear one of our Sunday lectures, a Sunday talk, well, I didn't really understand, so I'm going to listen 2 or 3 more times and try to understand. So this is what I would like to say. Don't try to understand. Feel it. Feel the energy. Feel the energy when the exact time of Wesak, the full moon, the absolute, what we call the exact time, the exact contact of the full moon of Taurus and Wesak was yesterday at 2:13 our time, Mountain Standard Time. Did you feel anything? Chances are you started feeling the energy maybe about Thursday, maybe even as early as Wednesday. We should not only have started experiencing it last week, but also now feeling the heightened energy. You should feel it in your body. You should feel it in your head. You should feel it in your throat. You should feel it in your heart, these 3 major centers. You should feel it in the medulla oblongata. Then you ask yourself, what am I going to do with this energy? See, you don't have to know about Aldebaran and Venus and all the specifics that relate to the esoteric understanding and knowledge, of Wesak, its energy. So what are we going to do in a creative response with this energy? And let us take this energy into the next full moon, which is the festival of humanity, the full moon of Gemini, and take this energy and distribute it out into humanity in whatever way you have the ability to distribute, whether it is to give more love to your family, to volunteer your time and energy in a local or a national, international group, whether it is to write poetry or to write a book or to give lectures on the teaching. Find a way that you can take this energy and give it in such a way that it helps humanity to progress. So let me get back to my talk. Venus. Venus, too, has a special relationship to Taurus besides Aldebaran and to our planet. And as such, during this Wesak period, we can expand our consciousness and we can elevate our whole human constitution to a higher vibration. Is this happening? Can you feel this heightened sensitivity and awareness to the energies of Wesak and thus have an expanded consciousness? This vibration will gradually manifest to lift us, to lift aspirants and disciples and initiates, so that through them the whole of humanity and the lesser kingdoms will benefit. All disciples, aspirants, groups, and helpers who feel the call and energy will tune themselves to the Wesak energy for 5 to 7 days, with the Wesak full moon as a central point, which was yesterday. Each person needs to engage in a deep meditation that is going to link you to the centers within the planet, the centers within the galaxy, and your own centers, which are related to Shambhala and hierarchy. Each of us must consciously build a beam of light between our heart center and our Ajna center so that we can really sense these incoming vibrations. Yesterday, I had a wonderful opportunity to participate in 2 other groups that were observing the Wesak full moon, their meditations. And now we're doing ours today. The reason I wanted to do that, I didn't listen to the 2 to 3 hour meetings, but I wanted to touch in enough to feel part of them. And hopefully they will do the same with us today. And the reason being is that the esoteric spiritual community in particular is so focused on unity and unanimity that sometimes I think they lose their focus because they are concentrated on the language rather than the experience, so that it's not my group, right, but our greater group. And this is surely the time during Wesak we should be aware of the greater group. The thousands and thousands of aspirants and disciples and initiates that are observing this special ceremony, this special time, increasing their sensitivity, opening these major centers so that we are recipients of this outpouring flow of energy coming from Shambhala and hierarchy, and finding the result of this contact, adjusting our lives to the changing plan. So we can't do it as a little group, but we can do it as the greater group. The moment of contact at the time of Wesak is the moment of great responsibility for all those who are trying to work for the plan. What is Wesak? In a remote part of the Himalayas is a valley in which great beings gather to invoke the energy from the Most High. Not one of them is going to say, I'm too busy. Not one of them. I guarantee you, not one of them is going to say, look, Lord, I really want to be there, but I just can't. We depend on them being there. Just like humanity unconsciously depends on disciples and initiates especially to be the transformers, the transmitters and the transformers of this light and love and power that is being given to us. Tradition tells us that Wesak is not a legend, but an ongoing fact. It is a tradition. Some people sense what is going on in the Wesak Valley. Others actually see and or participate in this ceremony physically. We know, for example, Alice Bailey did. Some believe that Helena Rourke did. We know Blavatsky did, and others more recently have physically or at some level attended that festival. If you only have a physical vehicle, you will see the physical part of the ceremony. A few years ago, some students of the Ageless Wisdom made a video of their trek to the Wesak festival. We were able to review the ceremony as it took place upon the physical plane. But in order to attend the other aspects of this magnificent ceremony, for example, the astral level of the ceremony requires that we have built an emotional body, an emotional vehicle that travels in a very pure emotional world, a world that's not laden with glamours and low-level desires. This same law applies to the mental equivalent of that event. If your mental vehicle is built and is pure, you can experience the ceremony on that level. If your intuitional body is built, you can view the entire solemnity, beauty, and magnificence of the whole of the Wesak ceremony. Imagine you can observe the whole process. You will recognize the subtle magnetic sphere of the masters created in the valley of the Himalayas. You can see the distribution of the energy as it affects and relates to disciples everywhere. You can see the great Kohans in their subtle bodies, and even the protective, invisible electric wall which surrounds the valley, repelling all those who try to attend the ceremony but are not yet ready or qualified. To have a memory of the experience, you must have continuity of consciousness, which is a constructed bridge between our lower and higher mind. With such a bridge, or without it, without the bridge, you can still experience a ceremony, but without the bridge, you have no way to record the experience. You can't pretend it. You can't pretend that you've been there. Some people think because they've read over and over and over these beautiful stories about the Wesak ceremony and the pictures that have been drawn by those who have attended, then that fantasy thinking is, I was there. Now, if you have not constructed the bridge yet, and we're told that we can still, in one of our bodies, be there, the evidence will be demonstrated through the changes in your life. The more sacrificial service that you engage in, the more creative, in a true sense of creativity, the more creative you will be. Increasingly so every year. But without the constructed bridge, when you return from this ceremony, you won't have a way to record the experience. Such a person will retain the energy of beauty and joy and bliss, but not have any memory of the experience. So if you want to attend these kind of events, and of course we do, we must start to purify our bodies and build the bridge, sometimes called the Rainbow Bridge, through occult or advanced meditation. Many people have a glamour about attending the Wesak festival, but actually until our lives are constructed from the fabric of service, selflessness, solemnity, and used as an instrument for the great ones, it is then more important that you work on yourself and get your physical, emotional, and mental bodies into a harmonious pattern. The wisest action that you can take is to set aside the 5 or 7 days of the Wesak festival every single year as the most holy days of your life, and use them to work upon yourself. This is what we believe. The ceremony has many symbols. The participants chant great mantras. There is actually profound electric power found in this sounding of the mantras. The teaching tells us that Christ charges the field with his presence, while the great Lord Buddha comes and blesses all initiates and disciples and aspirants for 1 minute. But actually, that 1 minute will last for an eternity. When the Great One comes, he does not come in a human image, but in a condensed light. This light is then transferred to the members of Shambhala. The purpose of the light, let us think in this way, is the will of God. The purpose becomes the will of God. You are seeing the will of God and the purpose of life in the light. You're seeing the will of God and the purpose in that light. For the members of Shambhala, 1 moment is an eternity for them. They take the purpose and then they change that purpose into a plan. This is what the Lords of Shambhala, we are told, do. Then the hierarchy takes the plan that the Lords of Shambhala gives to the Christ and the Kohans and the Mahash Kohans, and they interpret that plan. So hierarchy interprets that plan, translates the will of God and its purpose. They talk about it. Can you imagine? They're sitting down, they have a meeting, and everybody attends the meeting. They can't bring an excuse from the doctor. They are there. They are right there attending that meeting. And they discuss how the will of God and the purpose of life can now be slowly taught to humanity. Slowly taught to humanity. It's at that time the purpose turns into a plan. So they build the plan from specific views. For example, they take the plan and then consider every single level of that plan. Then they create a plan that is tied to the purpose and to human need. So we have the plan from Shambhala to hierarchy that formulates it into such a way that they can create or devise this outline that has goals slowly to unfold, slowly to manifest, to meet the needs of humanity. They make a balance sheet. They think about what has been accomplished in the past and what they can do now. They think, how can we plan and organize our armies to live in brotherhood and all fields of human endeavor? They don't say, we're going to single out that group or that country or that part of the world. They don't do that. Only humanity does that. Only ego does that. Only vanity does that. After they make the plan is then projected to initiates and then to disciples, then to aspirants, and then to humanity. What is projected? A strong, electrical, powerful energy. Energy. Humanity is exposed to the impact which creates 2 results. If the physical, emotional, mental body of the members of humanity is clear of revenge and hatred and habits and so forth, the energy accumulates and creates a new level of consciousness. Well, that seems difficult to even imagine. But remember, the plan is given to us slowly as a humanity. So that's an image for us. And you're going to see, even if it's not a declared initiate or not a declared disciple, you're going to see initiates and disciples becoming today's woman, today's man. Not the man or woman of last year or the man or woman of 100 years ago, but today's man and today's woman, which is they each reflect the changing plan. This means that we are no longer hurting others. We are no longer hurting ourselves. We are a new person. We start expanding our consciousness, and if we are really pure, we start taking initiations. Initiation means we go from one level of consciousness to another. It means we are no longer attached to those old things and ways, and we turn into being a creative agent in life. We nourish and feed people's souls and heart and consciousness, and slowly in that light of consciousness, we feel the head center opening. This is a very real thing. Have you felt your head center opening yet? When this occurs, a line of communication takes place very slowly between your head, your throat, and your heart centers. The head chakra is law and order, by which is built a divine architecture. And then you put your consciousness into that law and order. There's no halfwayness. There's no doing one thing today and something different tomorrow, and then going back to doing that one thing that you did 2 days ago, 3 days in the future. You stay right there, no matter what. No matter what. You are dedicated, you are committed, you are standing in the aura of the law and order of the plan of hierarchy and the Lords of Shambhala. That law and order is inside of you. It's just like I mentioned the other day, I came across a very short sentence written by Master Moria, in which he says, live the teachings as your life. What does this mean to us? It means to stand inside the law and order of the teaching. The teaching is the law. It is going to be inside of us when that head center opens. Divine commandments, wisdom of the great ones. We don't elevate the great ones to a pedestal. We elevate their wisdom, and that elevating of wisdom means an expansion or broadening of our consciousness. That's how we honor these great ones. The light and love and intelligence of the universe. We must have a law inside of us that protects us. It shapes and leads and guides us into the best feelings and thoughts and actions. When your heart center opens, your head center opens, that energy then comes to your throat and to your heart. Head, throat, heart. The will energy becomes love, which is heart, and the throat, when it comes into the throat, that energy is called intelligence. When you make contact with the Wesak energy, it develops your inner potential. You become really dignified, really refined. You know the purpose of life. You know that inner guide. Hierarchy looks at the balance sheets. They first look to see if the initiates and disciples and aspirants advanced. They look to see if humanity advanced. Did some human beings move into a higher state of consciousness? Then they look to see if any have regressed. They look to see if any lost their souls. If hierarchy wins, we win. If hierarchy loses, we lose. If in the checks and balances more of us advanced, then we win, and so does the hierarchy. If in the checks and balances there were more who lost their souls than there were those who advanced, then we lose, and so does the hierarchy. If our image begins to degenerate, we know we are selling ourselves. If we are blooming, we know we are assimilating the energy from the Most High. So, for our own personal balance sheet, we could call it a self-examination. Ask yourself, did I do meditation throughout the months from last Wesak? This is the key. This is truly the key of the door, the gate. It is the esoteric meaning of meditation. I think it's suffice to say 83% of humanity do not know how to meditate. Maybe 50% of humanity now believes they meditate, but 83% do not know. And the evidence of that is the secret doors are still closed. The secret to life, the secret to the plan of life, the secret to contact with the Lord of the planet, with the Lords of Shambhala, those doors are not open to them yet. So meditation is the key. This key opens the gates and the secret doors are open. Chakras are opened with scientific, balanced, intelligent meditation. The teacher will lead us to open these doors. 7 doors, 7 chakras. It is a slow process, and necessarily so. If you've had any of your major centers or minor opening, you know how painful it is. Physically, it's painful. It is painful. We could talk about why someday, but it is. That's why it has to be a slow process. Many doors are closed. This is why mentally, emotionally, and physically we are not healthy. The doors are closed. So the energy cannot circulate. See, it's not that we're a victim. We've made ourselves unhealthy. The doors are closed because the energy does not circulate. Now here's a story. 2 of humanity's elders quarreled about mankind. The one of light declared that man would give up everything. But the dark one protested that man would conceal something for himself. So they began to test man, these 2 Petries. They bereft him of all things until, as a beggar, he wandered aimlessly, dressed only in a torn rag. Looking down at the man, the light one said, "Behold, he renounced all and lives. Wait a while, derided the Dark One, and he threw upon the road a weeping child. The man covered the child with his last rag and shed a tear. Behold, he renounced everything, said the Light One. But the Dark One answered, yes, he renounced his rag, but his heart is closed. Thus, the Dark One outwitted the Light One. What does this mean? We think we renounce so much. We think we give away so much. We think we do so many good deeds, but do we really? How much have we really sacrificed or renounced without concealing something for ourselves? The man put his last rag on the child and shed a tear, but he did nothing else. He did not pick the child up. He did not feed him. He did not show love to that child. He simply acted mechanically. The tear the man shed was for himself and not for the baby. If his heart was opened, he would have had something to feed the baby with, to clothe the baby with. The open heart would have drawn what was needed for the baby to take care of it. But he had very little to give it, for he was immersed in his own loss. All he had was one worldly good, his thought. But actually, he had the wealthiest treasure in the world, his heart, and it was closed. Our selfishness closes our heart. Our fears close our heart. Our vanities close our heart. Our lies close our heart. And our enemies close our heart. Ask yourself, how was my meditation life this past year? Did I monkey around? Or ask yourself, how much did I gain in wisdom and spiritual power? Ask yourself, what did I read this past year? Then think what you should read to profit from living a real life. How can you as a soul profit? And then make a plan. Read 5 to 6 pure books. Be rhythmic. Organize your life like hierarchy. It doesn't have to take a note from the doctor to miss a meeting. Ask yourself, did I attend the meetings of my group? If yes, ask yourself why. If not, ask yourself, why not? The answer, we attend the group meetings to strengthen ourselves. With what? Spiritual nourishment. Say to yourself, it's Sunday, no matter what, I will go there and increase my aura and thus my environment with electromagnetic energies. Or if I cannot attend in person, I will attend nowadays a live stream webinar. Rhythm, it is so important. You can collapse or build your life by the rhythm in your life. Recognize the value of these meetings. A man gave much gold for good works, but he awaited reward for what he did. Once his teacher sent him a stone with a message, and here is the message: accept the reward, the treasure of the far-off star. The man became indignant. Instead of my gold, a stone is given to me. What is a far-off star to me? And in dejection, he cast the stone into a mountain stream. But the teacher came and said, "How did you find the treasure?" In the stone, was contained the most precious diamond, sparkling beyond all earthly gems. In despair, the man rushed to the stream, and following the current, he descended low and lower and even lower. But the ripples of the waves forever hid the treasure. Ask yourself, how is my relations with my wife, my husband, my family, and friends? Do I need to stamp out certain habits these habits that cause disharmony? Yes, then do it. Just do it. You will see how many changes will come into your life. For example, things are not going very well, you think. Take a look at yourself. Take a look at your ego, your vanity, even your viewpoint. You can renounce certain things from yourself. Let's say, for this Wesak, you're going to do this, and you're going to renounce 25% of your ego and your vanity and your point of view. That's huge. 25% is huge. We could say 50%, but that's ridiculous. That's kind of an unreachable goal. 25% might be kind of unreachable too, but make a note, put it in your journal. This time next year, take a look. Did you eliminate, did you renounce 25% of your ego and your vanity and your viewpoint? Take a look at your social obligations and responsibilities and look at your balance sheet, the balance sheet of the spiritual and material. So that's the talk for this morning. I'm going to read a poem, and then Val's going to lead us in meditation. This is a poem that I wrote in 1987, and it's called The Call of Shambhala. Oh, wise one, tell me of a place called Shambhala, echo of the ancient dream within my heart. A time when long ago, at the fullness of May, under the light of destiny, I had a peculiar vision. A dream where I seemed to watch as a great teacher approached. While holding my breath for fear of his countenance, I saw him reach out to touch my heart. A touch which like magic became a call, the sacred call of Kalagya. The pundit's eyes seemed to read the book of knowledge as he said, "Verily, it is only through purity of motive, dedication to striving, joy of sacrifice and service, and devotion to creative labor that one can hear the sacred call Kalagya come to Shambhala." Shambhala, the tower, piercing into deep space as a flaming pyramid, the soul of which, like a lotus, unfolds to irradiate all forms of life. Shambhala, the tower which is above, extends below, and verily, according to legend, is found secluded within the earth. Hidden from the uninitiated, it is protected by currents of forces and energies even beyond the earth, found through subterranean passages, secure within an emerald green valley, protected by the sacred white mountain. A great white frontier illumined by the brotherhood of light and love and power. Verily, there are many who are traveling the path to Shambhala who are known by their solemn desire for peace and unity, who are selflessly dedicated to the upliftment of mankind. You have heard the call. You will find the path leading to Shambhala. Look for those who are dedicated to truth and beauty and goodness. Devote your life to serving the beauty in all, serving the light in all, serving the goodness in all. You have heard the call. You will contact the center where the will of God is known. You will enter the door to touch the heart of freedom and see the community of hierarchy, the star of light and love and power, the center which is known as Shambhala.